is finally happening. We're getting a Pac-Man World 2 remake, and I am incredibly excited. The pack is back once again, and this remake is looking really good. This was definitely the highlight of the partner showcase for me. Even with my problems with the partner showcase not having that many heavy hitters, I do think it was solid for the most part, because we did get games like Dragon Ball Sparking Zero, Plants vs. Zombies Replanted, and Persona 3 Reload on top of World 2 Repack. But World 2 Repack was definitely the highlight for me. I have been wanting this game for so long, since I am definitely a pretty big fan of Pac-Man World 2. I was obsessed with it back in 2021, if some of you might remember when I made like some videos and live streams about it. And it's become one of my favorite 3D platformers of the GameCube and just like the early 2000s. I know it was also on the PS2 and Xbox as well, but my experience with it was on the GameCube. And it is just a really fun game in general. I feel like it's more open and fleshed out than the original Pac-Man World, I would say, just after like playing Repack, since Repack was my first experience with the original Pac-Man World. So I definitely prefer 2's structure, but I do think the game had some flaws as well. Like at some points of the game, it was kind of janky, and there are some weird camera angles in there, and the depth perception could also be kind of weird as well when judging where you're landing, when platforming. So it's really nice to see a remake that's potentially alleviating a lot of the issues and fixing a lot of the flaws. We're already seeing one of the flaws addressed with the landing target, which I definitely think will be pretty helpful here. So I'm very excited about that. And just in general, that they're continuing the Pac-Man World remakes after the original repack is just incredible. I am glad that Bandai Namco is embracing this wacky late 90s, early 2000s version of Pac-Man again. I'm all for it, and it's just so refreshing to see after so many years of nostalgia pandering over the arcade games. Like, I can at least tolerate that nostalgia pandering if they're, at the very least, providing something from that 2000s era of Pac-Man. We were severely lacking anything from that, like, over the past, like, decade, I would say. Like, the past decade, like, up until, like, Pac-Man Museum Plus in the original repack, I feel like the Pac-Man franchise was in a very weird state, and I am just so glad to see that we're kind of out of that now. Some people were a little worried that we were slipping back into that after like no news of like a Pac-Man World 2 remake until now, because like Shadow Labyrinth released, and some people were a bit concerned that would kind of change the image of Pac-Man again, but I don't think that's a big concern now. I feel like Shadow Labyrinth was more of like kind of a different thing, I would say, like a different spin-off, and I can definitely respect it more now since it can coexist with Pac-Man World. So I definitely respect that as well. So I really hope they continue with both these Pac-Man World remakes. Like, hopefully we get one for 3. I feel like 3 really needs a remake, because I feel like that game had a lot of potential, but it ended up being like pretty flawed, I would say. So I think a remake could iron out a lot of those flaws and kind of make it into a much better game. And speaking of Pac-Man World 3, one really cool aspect of that game is coming back, and that is full voice acting. That is incredible. Like, I feel like that fully solidified the fact that Pac-Man is kind of going back to that, like, 2000s era charm. Like, we're even seeing the same voice actor for Pac-Man return from Pac-Man World 3, which is really cool, which is Martin T. Sherman. I think that is just a really cool touch there. It really goes to show the amount of detail that is going into this. And on top of this, they're also adding like a pretty good amount of new content to this game as well. Like, for anyone like me who's already played Pac-Man World 2, like, they're adding co-op, which is kind of like the Mario Odyssey, Donkey Kong Bonanza thing, I would say. I mean, it's nice to have, but it would have been nice to see, like, full-on co-op and everything. And they're also adding missions as well. It's almost kind of similar to, like, Yoshi's Woolly World and, like, Kirby in the Forgotten Land. It kind of, like, similar to Yoshi's Woolly World in the sense where when you complete the missions, you unlock a costume. So it's definitely comparable in that way. And then you could also get statues as well, kind of similar to Pac-Man Museum Plus. And they're even doing, like, more things. Like, they're doing pre-order bonuses. Like, they're doing, like, a, Pac-Man costume if you, like, got Pac-Man World Repack 1. And then, like, even, like, new stages in, like, a collaboration thing. And a Pac-Land themed costume in the Deluxe Edition. So it really seems like they're going all out here in terms of content and effort being put into the game. So it's definitely really exciting. And I honestly think this might be due to the original repack's success. I'm not sure if we know how well the original repack sold, but I feel like that definitely could have helped make this possible. And while I do really like repack, I feel like World 2 repack is really doing what the original repack should have done in terms of the amount of content and effort. So I'm glad that they're going the extra mile here. But one more thing that I wanted to talk about that is pretty unfortunate is the fact that on Switch 2, this is gonna be a game key card. That is really disappointing because I would have loved to get this physically on the Switch 2. I feel like it's a very tone-deaf decision from Bandai Namco to make this a game keep card, because while this game kind of is geared towards younger audiences, I do think there is a decently large portion of the audience that mostly buys things physically and would buy Pac-Man World 2 Repack for nostalgia. So I think that is just a huge missed opportunity, not putting the full game on the cartridge. And yes, I do understand that the smallest cartridge size that they have available to publishers is 64 gigabytes, making it more expensive for smaller games like this to be put on cartridges for Switch 2, but that doesn't make it any less disappointing. At the very least, I hope there's an upgrade pack for Switch 1 to allow people to buy the Switch 1 version physically and then upgrade to the Switch 2 version. I'm just really hoping that's the case, because I want to have this game physically in some form without buying the game key card, because I really don't want to support game key cards. So yeah, I am incredibly excited about Pac-Man World 2 Repack despite some of those game key card issues, and it is just so surreal that this is actually happening. But anyways, thank you guys for watching this video. Make sure to leave a like and subscribe for more, and make sure to check out my Discord server and Blue Sky if you want to. Stay perky!